Good morning and welcome to Authentic Conversations with Moji. It's Moji Solo Wilson. How are you? It's good to see you. Today's conversation is very, very controversial, and there's so much going on in the world these days. Honestly, I don't even know where to start, really. But I figure we should all talk about this because for many, many years, I've talked about parenting skills as I learned them, because as we know, um, children don't come with booklets and things like that, right? So I thought, as my generation, are getting older, that we would be having conversations with our children and letting them know what we've learned and things like that. But I don't think it's happening that way. And the more woke we become, the more aware that we become, it seems like the more freedom of speech, freedom of human rights, freedom. But sadly, I think we forget that freedom is not really free. It's something that's earned. It's something that we all have to fight for, and continuously, as the world is changing, that we will all change with it. Of course, bring in our moral compass, integrity, and humanity along with us. But that's not what's happening. It's kind of scary what's going on these days. But let me start by, let's start by talking about the issue that happened a couple of days ago that's been trending in the Nigerian circle on Twitter, as well as pretty much all over social media. It's kind of scary to think this would happen in 2022. So hang with me. If I don't do this, my wife will not be happy. So I'm going to do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Authentic Conversations with Moji. This is where we have conversations about real life issues to learn, unlearn, and to grow. My objective in the universe at the moment is to help people to transform their mindset. And how do we do that? We learn from reading books, we learn from having authentic conversations so we can have authentic transformations, so we can all become the best version of ourselves. Today, it's a very difficult conversation to have, really, without offending anybody. But you all know me. My name is Moji Solo Wilson. This is Authentic Conversations, where we have authentic. I mean, we talk about speaking in truth here. There's no point sugarcoating things. If I'm going to speak, I'm going to speak my truth. So there was a video that was sent to me. I didn't open it, I think about 4 days ago. It's been circulating on social media for quite a while, I heard. But there was a video of a young girl, 10 years old. Now, remember, I'm a mother. I have 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 sons. So this was very, very triggering for me. The girl in the video allegedly is 10. I did not watch the video because I live in America, and where I am in my life at the moment, nothing is worth risking my name being put on the child child pedophile list in any country. So I did not watch the video, just so you know. One of the things that happened, really, is that allegedly there's a 10-year-old girl that went to Dubai with her school. The school is called Chrisland. And allegedly, the girls are on the 10th floor and the boys are on the 2nd floor. The young girl, 10-year-old girl, left her room and went to get her cell phone, according to the mother, because I watched the video from the mother. I watched all the commentaries. I read a lot of the blogs and a lot of the write-ups. I watched a lot of videos. I spoke to a few parents as well. And the reason I always do my homework before I come on social media is that so that I know what I'm talking about when I start having these conversations. So the girl allegedly went to the 2nd floor to meet the boy to collect her phone. According to the mother that broke the story, it breaks my heart that it's a mother that broke the story. According to the mother that broke the story, she thought her daughter was raped. So videos started to come out. I mean, from the conversations online, it shows that the girl herself was actually the one that allegedly initiated the escapade. She is supposedly had slept with 5 boys, and she gave directions, and she also it's crazy. She seemed very comfortable with a lot of freaky positions. Now, she was doing jiggy jiggy with the people, with the boys in the room. We're not allowed to use certain words or else they're going to shadow block me. I found out they've been shadow blocking me for quite a while. I didn't know about it. So, bottom line is that at the end of the day, um, it's really sad to know that children in 2022 at 10 years old are having orgies and they're doing the jiggy jiggy pretty much everywhere. So I started to do research. And when I Googled her name, um, there was a website that popped up as well called LE Leaks or Likes. And she had over 529 videos on this particular website where she was doing erotic dancing. She was scantily clad, clothed, and it was just not something you would see a 10-year-old. I mean, at 10 years old, my God, I was playing with Barbie, not Barbie, but I was in Nigeria. I was playing with dolls. The most crazy thing I did in high school was to jump the fence to go buy a mala, and I thought I was a rock star, you know. And like I said on Clubhouse a couple of stages, I went to Oluyole 79. There were chaperones. There was obviously not enough chaperones, and we still managed. Part of I don't know. I'm hoping that some of you guys, somebody will come in on stage with me. I put if you want to come to the back end of the studio, there's a link right there. Just click on it, and you have to be on your laptop and come into the back end of the studio with me, and let's have an authentic conversation. So my question to myself always when I hear a bad story is, how did we get here? How did the parents miss all of what's happening with this child? Because when your children are having sex, it doesn't matter if it's a solo sport or if they're doing the jiggy jiggy with other people, their mannerism changes, their attitude changes, they become very smart, they talk back to you in a way that you just know something is off. And for a 10-year-old to know all these positions that this girl allegedly knows, it's very unnerving, because then you have to ask the questions, how did she do these things? Now, this goes back to my many, 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 many years of speaking of social media and telling the LGBTQ community, you have to be very careful what you post. You have to be careful what you post, not just for yourself, for your parents, for your friends, for your family on social media. But let's talk about behavioral issues. I don't understand how this mother did not see a change in her daughter. Even the clothing that this 10-year-old wears. All right, before the feminists come after me, full disclosure, you can call me a prude, but a 10-year-old child should not be dressed in a certain way, in my opinion. There's no reason for a 10-year-old to be dressed like a 40-year-old woman will. We're in the age where they tell us that children have full autonomy to make their own decisions, right? So I turned to my wife yesterday after a few conversations with a few people, and I said to my wife, if we're now at the age where they're telling us that children have full autonomy, so if children have full autonomy, why are we all jumping up and down that a 10-year-old is having sex? Because if the society has given them so much, I mean, a 5-year-old has a cell phone with full access to the internet where they can access pornography, how to build a bomb, how to cook, how to speak French. I mean, you can learn anything on the internet these days. So if we know that, why are we not patrolling or controlling the access of our children to the internet? So my question today really is, have we failed this generation of children? And I must tell you, I'm guilty. I am so guilty, because, we all want our children to have things that we didn't have growing up. So a lot of times what ends up happening is that we overcompensate. And if you've ever been a single mother or a single parent, you do understand that it's a very hard choice to make. When all your children's friends have cell phones and they have iPads and they have this and they have that. You want your child, I'm guilty. You want your child to be in with the crowd so they don't get bullied. Honey, let me tell you, my oldest is 31, my youngest is now 19. I wish I know I wish I knew what I know now way back then, because nobody teaches you. Look, nobody teaches us how to have children, how to raise or train children. I've been sitting on this platform sharing my work with you guys for so many years. And the reason I did that is because nobody did that for me. Everybody has amazing children. They all tell you, oh, my son is fantastic. And then you find out the goddamn child is a serial killer, right? And here you are with your child that's lying a little bit to you. And then you find out that your friend's daughter is pregnant at 12 or 13. That's the days we live in. So how do we go from, the Nigerian culture that I know, where children are being respectful, to the culture where children now have IG, they have leaks or likes, they have access to pornographic platforms. How did we get there? How did we get from a country like Nigeria, which I'm not saying is right, where children obeyed their parents or pretended to, in my case? We were very afraid of our parents in those days. And I'm not saying the way I was raised is exactly the best way, because I think I was traumatized. I think I was raised in a very dysfunctional family. My father had 12 wives and 31 kids, and it just didn't make sense. But I think one of the most important things that I learned, one of the most important things that I learned along the way is to pay attention to my children, because each child is different. I have 4 children, and each child I learned that I had to do something totally different with them, right? So as we go into this conversation, Miss Loye, if you'd like to come into the studio, the link is on top. It's the HTTPS. Please join me on stage. But Miss Loye says, I think going to private school exposes our children to vulnerable habits. If it's an ordinary government school, there would be no iPads, laptops, too much exposure or connection to the internet. Is that really the solution, Miss? I don't think that's a solution. I don't think it's the solution is to send your child to a school, because you're talking about Nigeria, where the educational system, the public educational system, is really, really awful. I remember when I went to Nigeria in 2013, a lot of the public schools did not even have tables. They didn't have chairs. The kids were sitting on concrete floors. So if you can afford to send your child to a private school, I don't think that's the issue. I think making the school accountable, in my opinion, is the way to go. Helping the schools, being active in your children's school. I remember way back when I told my daughters they were going to Catholic school that they could not watch TV. And the principal called me in and said, oh, they can't watch TV during the week. Moji, you're helping them grow socially, because they can't watch TV. We didn't have TV in Nigeria when I was growing up. I mean, we had it in the living room and it was my dad's TV, but we didn't have access to TV or cell phones, and we did very well. There's so much distractions in this 21st century that we all live in, and it's a bit nerve-wracking if you ask me, right? So talking about not sending kids to private school, I don't think is the issue. I think if you can afford to send your child to private school, that's great, but you yourself must be involved, because I think, when you take it from just basic babysitting a child, where we give them iPads from the age of 2 years old to be playing games, or they're watching TV all day, or they're watching YouTube all day, right now even in the cartoons, you have to be very careful which cartoons you allow your children to watch. You really must be very, very, very vigilant because of the exposure that these children have. On the other hand, technology is an amazing thing. This is why I'm able to do what I do, speak to people from across the globe, because of the fact that we have the internet. But at some point, we have to decide when it's appropriate for a child to have access to the full internet. Right now in America, our children submit their homeworks via the internet. They get emails, and they have personal emails on their school platforms. They have platforms where they talk to their schoolmates about problems and issues that they have. So taking away the full internet is really not, I don't think, is the right way to go. But I really honestly believe that if we don't have start to have these authentic conversations amongst ourselves, we're really not going to be raising healthy, functional, intelligent, emotionally intelligent children. And what I find is that because a lot of children are interacting on the internet where it's like a false reality, they don't understand the ramifications of what they do on the internet. You know me, I have no shame, right? I've always come here when I'm struggling with something, I come to the internet. But one of the things that I don't understand is that the mother came out and told this story about her daughter being raped. This is how this story blew up, right? Instead of her doing more investigations, one of the problems with social media is that in as much as it's a great tool, it can also be very damaging and dangerous if we're not taking the time to truly do our homework before we share videos. This video was shared by God knows thousands of people, especially Nigerians, because there's no law. Nobody is upholding any laws in Nigeria. So thousands of people shared this video of a 10-year-old girl in compromising positions, having jiggy-jiggy with 5 different boys in the same space while being videotaped. And she allegedly is the director of the video, as in she's the one giving the instructions according to all the reports that I've read. How did she get here? I'm thinking this girl probably got raped. That was my first train of thought. Oh my God, somebody must have raped her at a very young age. And as I started to listen to more conversations and I started to do more research, and I went on to Google, and I saw the kind of things she's been posting. How many of you guys know what your children are doing on social media? I'm guilty. I can't tell you I know, because let me tell you something. When our son got in trouble, our son got kicked out of a school, a boarding school, I think about 3 years ago, because of something he had posted. It wasn't nudity, it wasn't anything of that. He just threatened a kid that he was having issues with. It's like, I'm going to drag this kid to hell with me or something. He got kicked out of the school. So when I went looking, that made me become a lot padumota. I became the police of his internet everywhere. I Google his name, I try and find, but they can open up second pages. So I follow my son on all the platforms. I follow all my children, as a matter of fact, on all the platforms. I might not speak, but I pick and see what they're doing. And sometimes I'll tell even my older daughters that are 28 and 31, sometimes I'll see them in a bikini or something, and I'll be like, oh, no, you can't do that. Because imagine if you want to go become a CEO or the vice president of a company, and they Google your name, because they always do that in America. I don't know about Nigeria. And they Google your name and they see you have clad influencing. 10, 15 years from now, what are you going to do? I've been talking about the Naked Brigade, which is the LGBTQIA. I am a lesbian, for those of you guys that don't know. Sometimes I even hate the word, because when you think about lesbians and gay people in the Nigerian circuit, my heart wrenches, right? It just wants to break. So being a lesbian, the representation on social media is so unhealthy. People come out in their underwear like, wait, what happened? You forgot to buy a shirt. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I understand that you get a lot of likes and a lot of, followers and things like that. And if you make your money from social media and you want nothing else to do with your life aside of social media, shuku to you. But if you're one of those people that have a dream to become something great, if you're one of those people that are looking to become excellent in whatever field you are in, if you're going to be the agbeko, be the best. If you're going to be the toilet cleaner, do your best. But you have to also make decisions that are not going to jack you up many years later. And people don't understand this. You dress your child like a little with all their showing, and then you want to control how some crazy person, a pervert, is looking at your child on social media. You want to control how an adult that's mentally deranged sometimes, that's a pedophile, is going to see your child. How do you allow a 10-year-old girl to be out there in a midriff with everything showing, and you're thinking, oh, she's cool? See, when we move away from this, I love the woke generation. I really, truly do. They entertain me like crazy. But thank God I don't have any of them as children, because it's like the moral compass is out the door. The moral compass is gone. The integrity is gone. Common sense, they don't flush them down the toilet. All in the name of being cool. All in the name of being the cool kids on the block. My God, are you kidding me? Do you understand what it's going to be like in 10, 15 years when you go get a job? There's no job. They Google you. They Google you. Even America has made a law now that if you are on the internet harassing or trolling an LGBTQIA person, you're not getting a visa. Yeah. Google it. It's out there. It was a bill that was passed earlier this year. Yep. And most people don't know. Education is the passport to our freedom, guys. And people, you got to keep up on top of your children. And I'm not saying all children are great. I'm not saying that. There's some children that are just innately bad. They can't help it. But there's nothing that, a lot of things that are just behavioral issues we can fix. But sometimes children have mental illness and we are not willing to accept it. If I ask my friends, usually I used to call up friends and say, oh, my child is doing this, my child is doing that. But oh my God, I'm a buruku. And then I'll hear from outside what their children are doing. And I'm like, whoa, why can't we just tell the truth and share information amongst each other so that we all can grow together? Juliet Ifeoma says, you can come on stage if you want to, Juliet. The link is up there. Juliet says that I guess the parent is to be blamed. Remember, train up a child in a way they should go. It doesn't always work. You can train your children all you want. If they're not willing to accept the training, nothing's going to happen. It's like an athlete. Same thing. You make them eat right. You make them go do the right thing. And when they get outside, it's up to them to use the tools that we've given them, Julia. I really don't buy that. There's some parents that are very negligent. You can train your children all you want. When they get outside, it's up to the child to use the tools that you gave them. Because when the child gets outside and their friends are drinking, the child can say, oh, no, I'm not drinking because I know my parents won't want that. Or, oh, till today, I think about what I do because I don't want to embarrass my mother. I don't want to embarrass my wife. Even me as a 57-year-old woman, before I come on stage, I always go to my wife and say, is everything covered? So that it doesn't, number one, I don't want anything distracting from the conversation I'm having. But number two, it's very important to know that there will be crazies out there. It's not about me and my family or my wife or my friends. It's about the crazy people out there. And then the woke people will come to me and say, hey, everybody has a right to dress the way they do. Yes, they do. But they also have to understand that there's consequences to everything we all do. And they must be willing to accept that. Good morning, Dotun. It's good to see you. So, where do we go from here is a question. The question of the day is, are we failing our children? If you want to come on stage, please click on the link above. The link is right there. Feel free to click on it and come to the back end and have conversations with everybody. I'm so spoiled now because I go on Clubhouse and I can hear people talk. I really love it. But it would be great and absolutely super fantastic if somebody joins me on stage, if you can. But so let's break this saga down, right? Let's break it down just a little bit. Number one, in my opinion, everything starts and starts in the home, right? The way you dress your children, the things you buy your children, because a 10-year-old is not going to the store to buy a belly top, right? And hot pants. So if the parents are buying the proper clothing, if the parents are teaching the children the proper things, if the parents are behaving in the proper way, then the parents are partly to blame. The child, the child there's something there. It's either she was raped or she's just I remember growing up and my dad would be like, that one is too fast because of the way they dress. Or that one is too fast because of the way they talk. My father knew all my friends. I could not go to anybody's house without my father knowing, period. But that was then. It was 100 years ago. And they always tell me, oh my God, Auntie Moji, you're too old. That's not how we do it these days. Children have rights. Yes, we believe they do. But you cannot expect children to have to be emotionally aware like we are. So we need to continue to speak to our children. We need to continue to guide our children. We need to continue to speak to our children, because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, I raised 4 children. Four, not, and the last one has given me a lot of problems. I'm not going to lie. You know, I come here and I say it all the time. Our son left home with 3.8 of GPA out of 4. 3.8. He then gets to school and starts hanging out with a bunch of people and decides he's not going to school for a month. Guess what we did? We cut him off. We cut him off financially because we always pay for everything. So I guess he didn't value the education he's getting. So now he has to go pay his own bills. There has to be consequences to everything that people do, including children. But it starts from little things. I saw Tonto Dike's son slapping her on the bum bum, and she's like, hey, and then she posted it too. Now imagine that same kid in school slapping the butt of a child. That's sexual harassment. See, the way you allow your children to treat you in the house is how they're going to go out and treat other women, especially boys. Now, the girls, what they see on social media is so unacceptable. I see grown people dressing up their 5-year-old girls in tube dresses, so short you can see the child's ovaries, and they think it's cute because they had 100,000 likes. And then you wonder why society is so rotten. And then you have parents that should not even be parents. Yes, I said it. Sue me. This is not, my wife said yesterday, this is not a sport. Every human being is not supposed to have a child. Some people are broken. I've been in therapy for almost 20 years of my life because of the damage that my parents did, and the fact that society also and church also damaged me. So because of the transformation I've been going through, I've been able to share my walk with my children. And a lot of you guys that have followed me for many years, I've been able to bring things to the table like books and things like that. And we've all grown together. But a lot of these children are being raised by parents that are broken themselves, that come from damaged goods. And if you say 70% of women have either been raped, sexually harassed, or marginalized in a way or the other, and we're all just popping our kids like rabbits, right? Then we have a problem, because there's a saying that hurt people hurt people. So before I got my driver's license, I had to take a written exam. After the written exam, they gave me a learner's permit. After the learner's permit, I had to go learn how to drive a car. After I learned how to drive a car, then I had to take a test to be able to get my driver's license. But yet anybody can have a child. Anybody. You know, and then society, we got to do better. Wallahi, we really got to do better, because a lot of us want to be rare, we want to be jiggy with it, we want to be on top of things, and we want our children to look cool and be cool, forgetting that they have a future, that it's not about today that matters. It's what they become. My job is to train my children to go out into the world and become responsible adults. My children are not they're not my retirement plan. A lot of Nigerians, you guys have children like babies, like rabbits. You have 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it if you want that and you can afford it, but please don't be going inside the people's inboxes and saying, Auntie Moji, I can't pay my child's tuition today, because a lot of those children are watching you. I can't pay this one's tuition. You have 5 kids and you're about to get pregnant. What happened to birth control? On the stage yesterday on Clubhouse, somebody DM'd, back channeled me and said, Auntie Moji, what about people that live in face-to-face? Sometimes they have sex in front of their children. Honey, you're going to have to figure something out. Maybe you should have sex when the kids are not there. And definitely there should be birth control in there somewhere. Somebody should get snipped, either the wife or the husband, after number 3 child, and you're in a face-to-face. My God, enough already. And people are going to come at me for this one because they'll call me an atheist. The truth is that even in America has social services, Nigeria doesn't. So when you have 10, 15 children and you're Baba Shukura and you don't really have the finances or the mental capacity or the space to be loving and kind, there's nobody that has enough love in their heart for 31 children. That's why my father died early. Shh, don't tell my siblings because they'll hate me some more. But seriously though, when people have So my father had 31 children. Imagine 31. But how do you have time for 31 children? 31, 12 wives. Of course, the man died early. He had to. There was too much jiggy jiggy going on. There was way too much work for him to do. Plus, when was he going to retire with 31 kids? Anyways, he had to put them through school. At least in the olden days, men, even if they were not part of the child's life, they absolutely paid the tuition. They tried to do, not these days. So you have a lot of single mothers. That brings me to single parenting. Single parenting happens in 4 ways. You get married, you get a divorce. That's one set of single parents. You accidentally get pregnant. I don't believe anybody gets accidentally get pregnant, and I'll tell you why I don't believe that. The reason I don't believe anybody gets accidentally pregnant is that nobody trips and falls on a sausage and gets pregnant. So if you know you're going to be having jiggy jiggy with people, please cover up, put a raincoat on it. Because, and I'm not saying people shouldn't have children by themselves. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be responsible. If you're going to have jiggy jiggy, there's a 50-50 chance of you getting pregnant. So you have the person who got married and decided to have children with a partner. And just because you're married to a person doesn't mean you should have children. Everybody is not supposed to be a parent. This is the 21st century. I wish I knew then. In my era, by the time you're 25, you're not married. People are screaming, "Oh my God, you're a has-been. You can't do this." And you mothers, you need to stop pressuring your children to have children, because at the end of the day, that's just not what? That's not cool. Stop pressuring your children to marry. Stop pressuring your children to have children so that you can become a grandmother. Like, honey, there's a lot of kids in motherless babies' homes that you guys can go and spend time with, that you can donate your time and your money and your time and effort, and stop pressuring these young girls to become parents. And let me tell you something. In my 20s, I didn't know who I was. I really didn't know who I was. I didn't get to know me until I was like 30 and all that, and maybe even closer to 47. I'm not saying people shouldn't have children if they know that they're mentally, financially, emotionally ready. That's not what I'm saying. Having children is a full-time job. Nobody pays you a salary. You need money it's financially draining, emotionally draining, mentally draining. And sometimes you look at these kids and go, oh, did I bring home the wrong child? For those of you guys that have children, you totally understand what I'm talking about, right? Sometimes you look at these kids and you're like, you came from me? Nah, it can't be. But each child is different. They don't come with a booklet. So when you're thinking about becoming a parent, understand that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of work. I was a realtor because I had 2 kids. So you have 4 types of people that have children, right? That become single parents. This woman, the Chrisland woman, has a husband, just so you know. So, but I want to talk about single parenting because that's the one that affects a lot of us the most. Single parenting happens when people have broken marriages. And let me tell you, it's going to continue to happen. So you guys better put on your armor quick, or start self-actualizing before you get married. That's another show. Then you have people who accidentally get pregnant. Then you have people who choose to have their own children, because that's a rare thing these days. I did it. I'm not going to lie. I did it many years ago. I chose to have children, and I chose to have it with my ex-husband, with my friend. And then I got married to my ex-husband, and I had 2 more kids. And it's hard being a single parent. Then I got divorced after few years. It's a lot of work. And if you don't have a community that surrounds you, the children just do whatever. You end up sitting them in front of TV because you still have to work. You have to pay the bills. You have to do this. You have to do that. So I think we should just be more proactive into having children. Now, Juliet says, I watch my kids and I check their social media. I don't care what people say. I do too. I check all my children, and my kids are not babies. I have 31 all the way to 19. And I still go on their social media. But the problem, let me tell you, is sometimes your children have 3, 4, 5 different IG pages and you don't even know. So you're checking one IG page. You don't realize that I used to sneak around and grab my son's phone. But he had a lock on it, and I would tell him to take the lock off, just random checking. Because, there's something called the dark net. I had no idea. until somebody called me up and said, "Oh, did you know about the darknet?" I'm like, "What's a darknet?" I can barely turn on my iPhone. In the olden days, my son used to set up my phone. He would put the code, and I'm thinking, I'm secure. The kid put the code in for me. So I had to start to understand my phones myself. I had to start to learn how to use the internet because a lot of people my age, we don't. And a lot of people, well, the younger generation, if you don't know how to use the kidney, something is seriously wrong. If you don't know how to use the internet, something is seriously wrong. But for people my generation, we didn't know how to use the internet. I could barely turn on my phone. I have two phones, and I still don't know all the functionalities of my phone. A lot of parents don't even know. They're not on IG. A lot of my friends don't have IG pages. They don't have TikTok. We don't know how to work these things. We're just learning ourselves. So these kids that are born in the internet age, they're very smart. Very smart. And they're growing up way too fast, in my opinion. They really, truly are. So it's our jobs, in my opinion. I only have dogs and cows. I have a dog, a cow, and 2 lambs. And they don't speak back, thank God. Because if I had to raise children in 2022, I don't know. I don't know how I would have done it. I really don't know how I would have done it. My daughters went to Catholic school on purpose. Not that things don't happen in Catholic school, it does, but it's very minimized because they wear uniforms, they all eat at the same time, and then there's this Jesus Christ thing that's hanging over their heads that God is coming to get them. It's important to have structure in your home, structure. They go to bed at the same time, they eat at the same time. Make sure you know all their friends. Make sure you speak to them. Make sure they're comfortable enough to speak to you. And if they're not, find an adult that you trust to speak to them. This girl, in my opinion, there's 2 scenarios in my head when I think about this 10-year-old that's doing the jiggy jiggy with 5 boys on video. Honey, I thought I was bad chick. I used to jump the fence to buy amala. Can you imagine? And I used to boast about it. I felt like such a prude. At 10 years old, there was no way. I went to boarding school since the age of 7. There's no way I would even imbo for where. Look, and then some people say, oh, the mother should beat the child. Look, everybody can parent their child any which way they want to, right? It's up to you how you parent your child. Personally, I was raised on a whip. But in America, if I beat my child, I will end up in jail if the child snitches on me. So I don't try that. But I take away everything. I took away our son's laptop for a month. I did. Didn't work for a little bit, and then it didn't work. So you have to understand what child you're dealing with. And, when I talk to single parents, I want single parents to know that there's nobody that's single in this world. You're not a single parent. So it took 2 people to make a child. So, and there's a reason God made sure, or the universe, whoever you believe in, Allah, Buddha, whatever, requires 2 people to make a child because it takes more than 1 person to raise a child. You need 2 different opinions, intellectual capacity to dissect situations. The way I look at things is different from the way my wife looks at things, thank God. So we come at things from different ways. Our style of disciplining children is to have conversations with them. My style of disciplining children for a long time was just scream and yell and put them in the corner and that. But in 2022, you have to be a master conversation holder. You have to do research on the topic because they know more than you. They've already gone to Google and Googled what you're about to talk about, and they know all the points to dribble you like soccer. And that's because we're raising these children are a lot smarter than we were. We really were. I was raised in a time when, honestly, children were to be seen, not heard. That's one of the reasons I talk a lot. I remember my dad used to say, you talk too much. Don't butt into people's conversations. And nowadays, you see children, you'll be talking to your friend and they'll just come in and sit down and start holding. No, I didn't allow that. Because that's how they hear things they should not hear. And for you guys that do the jiggy-jiggy in your house and you're screaming upside down and your children are hearing you, let me tell you something. You need to stop. I'm not saying you shouldn't have your erotic space. Oh, I'm saying create an erotic space. Don't allow your children in your bedroom, on your bed, even if you let them in your bedroom. Don't allow them in your bed. Don't, just create a space, your own erotic space, so that these children will respect their own erotic space. It's not about you, it's about them. Because if I remember there was a chair in my dad's house growing up that nobody could sit in. It was daddy's chair. We all knew it was daddy's chair. So nobody sat in it. As I got older, I started to have my own things. Today, I'm holding my cup. It's not the most fancy cup, but it's Moji's cup. Everybody in this house knows this is my cup. And that's part of how children learn boundaries. When we create boundaries for them, they understand boundaries. A 10-year-old is out there doing jiggy jiggy. And a lot of people that are jumping up and down on social media, calling her names. How about your own children? How about your own children? Before I came on the show today, I called two of my kids and said, at 10 years old, what were you? I did. I called them up. And one of them said, Mommy, at 10 years old, people were talking about it, but they were not doing it. That's an older one. Nobody was doing it, but we all knew about it. It's not that we saw it, because in those days, it was not, the internet was not like today where everybody has data, man. If you have data, you can Google anything. You can Google how to do brain surgery and you watch it live, let alone sex. And only a liar of a parent will say their children are not curious. You might not know that they're curious. It does not mean that they're not curious. So it goes to the topic. When is the proper age? That's your question. Please type it in there for me. When is the proper age to have the conversation about sex with your children? That's the question. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to put it in. When is the proper age? Because for every child, it's different. You have to look at the child and say, for the boys, it was much later for me. For the girls, by the time they were 12, and I started hearing stuff outside about other people's children, I quickly called them. This was the age of where HIV was really, really, really out there. So I called them up and said, look, you're too young to have jiggy jiggy, right? You're too young to have jiggy jiggy. And I know they're teaching you these things in school in biology classes, but here, let's sit down. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens. And then I gave them a book about their body and how the period and things like that happens. That I did at 12 for the girls. And then I took a banana and showed them how to put a condom on it. Didn't give them a condom. I didn't tell them to go out and have sex, but it was important to me that they understand their body and they understand what's going on. And I also left an open door by saying, if you ever think of doing anything, just talk to me first so I can help you tell. Never happened. At some point, I think one of the kids finally came to me. I think it must have been like 19 or 20 or something. And it's very important that we talk to our children about their bodies, especially about their private parts. It's called private for a purpose. Everybody's not supposed to see it. And then one of the reasons why it's important is because of child abuse, right? Child abuse is so prominent. It's so out there. There's so many predators. And then coming from a country like Nigeria, oh my God, where people are marrying 10-year-olds, they don't see it as a bad thing, because there's a law that says that as long as the child is married, it's not pedophile. So people hide under the umbrella of marriage. And it's so funny that misogyny and patriarchy rules in African countries, because you never see a 9-year-old boy being married by a 45-year-old woman. It's always the other way around. It's always women. Mr. Timothy Adegunle says, my daughter is 4. I already started warning her against anyone touching her anyhow. Shuku to you. You got to start early. I saw a video yesterday. I almost cried. The boy looked like he was about 3, and his mom was hunched over on a couch, and the boy was trying to hump his mother, and they thought it was cute, and they posted it. My heart broke. They posted it. How could you do that? The woman did not even stop and to tell the kid, stop doing that. This is inappropriate. It's not acceptable. Imagine he goes to school and start doing that to a young girl in class, Timothy. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to kick him out of school because they think he's you know, they'll think there's something mentally wrong with him. But this about a lot of the things that parents think are cute in 2022 is not cute though. I'm telling you, it's absolutely not cute. A lot of things that this new generation, they'll put on social media, your child is abusing an adult and calling them names or calling you names or smacking you on the butt, and people think it's cute. It's not cute, because what you're doing is laying a foundation of a child that will think doing sexually explicit things is cute. Kafa Davies says, at this point, the 10 years old child needs talking with and a therapy session. Yes, I think so. I believe she has been molested at a point in her life and possibly still being up until the Dubai. I am with you. Because from the things that I've read on the internet, this girl is a pro. They said she's a pro, the way she's directing the show and the things that she's doing. I looked at her mom in the video and I'm like, there's no way this woman is riding a horseback. It's no way. It just doesn't look like the type. But then, what do I know? A lot of allegations are going around. For me, I think the school has a responsibility as well. And the only responsibility that the only issues that I have with them is three things. The first thing is, number one, there should have been more chaperones. But there's no way you're going to sleep in the rooms of the children. Because if you do that, somebody can accuse you of sexual harassment as well. So they should have had more chaperones. And definitely they should have reported it when it happened. Immediately, they should have called the parent and explained to the parent what happened, what they saw. And the fact that the video has been going around the school for weeks. It was a parent that allegedly told the mother. So for me, those are the things that the school did wrong. What did the parents do wrong? For me, my opinion, and you guys please type your opinion into the comments. For me, one of the biggest things that the parents did wrong was that they did not curtail the way the girl dresses. They did not make sure, they didn't follow up. They didn't do their homework on their own child. They did not realize when the child was acting squoish. They didn't pay attention. For the school called the mother, and it took her 2 days to go to the school. Me, I'm sorry, I don't care. I understand people have to make a living to be able to pay tuition, but at some point, your child's well-being should be more important than the money that you're going to make. A lot of us needed to make money, so I dragged my children everywhere I went. My children went with me to work. They went to show houses with me. We went farming. We went putting cards on people's cars and houses for many, many years. It's on my Facebook page. I posted. I have no shame. Because at the end of the day, look, I was raised by my father. And isn't as much as the guy did his own scoring things, right? I went everywhere with him. I went to his construction sites. That's one of the reasons why I do construction today. I went with him to all his businesses. That's why one of the reasons why I do all kinds of businesses. There's nothing, this hands of mine, may God never take it away from me. We have to do better, folks. We really have to. We all have to do better. The whole society has to do better. The whole society. The uncles, the aunts. I grew up in an age where if I did something wrong down the block, by the time I get home, 3 other parents have already slapped me, and somebody's already told my parents by the time I go home, and I got it there as well. We all have to become much more compassionate, so much more empathetic towards each other. We really have to do better. Timothy Adegule says, when we discuss the erotic scenes and all sorts of obscenities we saw on BBR, Jesus Christ. Hey, I don't die. BB Niger, seeing it as a norm. These kids go to school and discuss these topics more extensively. Parenting in 2022 needs to be, oh, Jesus. Yes, shuku to you, Jerry Timothy. Talk the truth and let the devil be ashamed. Parenting in 2022 needs more dexterity and the latest methods. The girl manages about 3 social handles with a followership of at least 10K. That's time consuming. There's no way the parents can claim ignorance. Shuku to you, Jerry. When I said it on the stage on Everybody's like, oh, but Nigerian parents, they don't even know anything about internet. They don't do it. They don't, honey, in 2022, if you're not Googling your child's name to see what pops up, you're part of the problem. If you're not getting an IG account in 2022 to see if your child is on there, if you're not taking your child's phone to look at it, I'm telling you, all these woke people are going to come to me and tell me, oh no, you're being absolutely, you're invading their privacy. Honey, I would rather invade my child's privacy than end up on the world news as a parent of a child who's doing jiggy jiggy with 5 boys. Honey, people will say, oh, you're being too protective. You're being too this. You're being too that. Even me that I'm talking, I can't tell you the number of times I've Googled my youngest son's name to see which other account he has. And in my head, something is telling me this boy has other accounts because he's too clean on this one. And then maybe it's because he got kicked out of another school. That's why he's been a lot better these days. But honey, Miss Nelson says, I tell children about good touch and bad touch as a school proprietress. Shout out when it happens. The damage control from the school is bad. As for the girl, may God deliver us from strange children. Negligence on the part of the parents. Shiku to you. I totally agree with you, Miss Nelson. Because, man, we are all failing these children. All of us. We are all failing these children. And it also starts from the way we behave. Because a lot of times people think, oh, if I'm gossiping about my friend to another person on the phone and my daughter or my son is listening, they won't do the same. They will. And if you're the kind of mother that's showing all over the place, collecting money so you can put your child in 5 million naira school, honey, you're part of the problem. Because your child is watching you doing all this jiggy jiggy all over the place, and she thinks that's a way to get over. And this social media madness where people are so drunk, hey, I'm so embarrassed half the time. When people call me and say, Auntie Moji, I don't even look. Because I'm tired. Since 2009, I've been saying, don't be naked on social media. Don't do this because it's going to come back to haunt you. Don't do that. They started to bully me and troll me. You see, I've been quiet for a while. Because all these embryos that don't understand because they've never lived, that whatever you put out there is going to come back. Whatever you do today is going to come back. I know. And a lot of you guys know. So we need to figure out a way to make these children understand that what they're doing on social media, they have to be very careful. Yeah, you might have 300,000 followers. And then what? Tomorrow they'll move on to some new flavor of the day. And then what are you going to do? You can't get a job because you've rubbished yourself. And even if you scrub it, it's still there because Facebook has Facebook, IG, all of them. They have a database. They do. And anytime somebody wants to hire you in America, I don't know about Nigeria, America and the UK, the first thing they do is Google you. So this young girl needs a lot of therapy. All the boys involved need therapy. The school goes off. All the children that saw this video of this girl doing the jiggy jiggy, they all need therapy. And that particular school, look, there's something fundamentally wrong with Nigerian educational system, where more than 50% is being run by private parties. More than 50%. There's a problem because the bottom line will always be money. And not only that, do we even have rules and guidelines and of how many number of kids are supposed to be in class? Do we have rules and regulations that have accountability measures? I don't think so. I don't think so. And a lot of these schools are not even accredited as far as I know. The trend now, Mr. Timothy says, the trend in Nigeria now is that a 7-year-old child is celebrating a birthday and the parents will pay for heavy makeup, eyelashes, nail. Oh my God. I've been seeing it. I saw one the other day and I'm so admire. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, let me make a confession. I saw one last week and I DM'd the woman and I said, your child is 6 years old. Why is she in a tube top? Why is your 6-year-old in a tube top with makeup, weave down to her back, flowing, The moral compass of our people is gone down the toilet. And we're the most religious country in the universe. You know that, right? You'll think Jesus Christ was born in Nigeria. And people don't have conversations with their children about sex and body parts and things like that. I remember when I was 9, and I got my period, my dad told me, don't move. But so I moved. Every time a boy came to talk to me, I ran. Every time I couldn't sit next to the boy I sat next to in class, I moved my chair all the way to the back. A whole year later, my aunt came to visit. And I happened to mention that I got my period that day. And my aunt then breaks it down to me. And I'm like, Daddy said I shouldn't sit near any boys. So I have not been sitting near any boys so I don't get pregnant. We have to start speaking in truth. We have to start using the right names. You don't call it Vajay. Don't call it Vajay. Don't call it what it is. The biological names of all these body parts. You know, we have to start explaining to children, yes, as you grow, you're going to get some hormones and things like that. Your body is going to change. And you might see a boy that you like, let me know. You might see a girl that you like, let me know. Let's try and keep an open door. My job as a parent is not to be my children's friend. My job is to train them. They can go outside and find a friend. And then when they get older, we can become friends because now they have full autonomy over themselves. But until I am the guardian, they're going to have to live by my rules. And my rules are not going to stifle them emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. My rules are to guide them and to help to keep them safe from other people's children and sometimes themselves. Because, you know, we're very quick to say, oh, that boy's child, that boy is a bad seed. Maybe your own child, Gogo, is a bad. You see, the mother came out and said, her daughter was raped. And it turns out that the daughter was the curator. It's really sad the way society is going. And in as much as I really, truly believe that we can do better, I think the weight of this problem goes on 3 people. The parents. The parental style has to change. Parents have to be more hands-on instead of hiring nannies and all that stuff. Yes, hire your nanny, but overlook everything because your nanny could be the one raping your child. The Auntie Shukura that you left your child with could be a woman raping your child. Yes, women rape daughters as well. So be vigilant, pay more attention to your children. Notice when their demeanor changes because it means something is going on. Pay attention to what they say, how they say. Pay attention to if they're eating or not sleeping. Pay attention. Any slight change in your child could be an indication of something being wrong emotionally, mentally, and sexually. We have to do better as parents. And then we have to figure out a way to force the hand of the Nigerian Ministry of Education to do better, to curate better schools, to create laws and regulations with consequences if they're broken. Because Chrisland, this is not the first time this school, Chrisland, has had complaints against it. We have to make sure that there are consequences to all this faux pas from all these private schools. There's been deaths, there's been rapes, there's been all kinds of stuff going on. And it's just going to continue. It happens in America as well, but there's consequences. There's consequences, so people are a lot better. The girl did a post on one of her handle and said, I'm back like I never left again. Oh, well, shuku to her and her parents. Babanla shuku to her and her parents. And that's why it's important for parents to be vigilant. That's why it's important for parents to chaperone their children's internet access. And I don't think any child should be on Facebook or IG or any other place until they're like 14, 15, when they're a bit more emotionally intelligent. You know, it's really sad. I think we should give Lara Kiode says, we should not give a mobile phone to a child until they're 13 or 15 years old. I believe that. And I believe that because of my walk, right? And like I said earlier, I raised 4 children. And I cannot tell you how many other people's children I've helped to raise. I don't think children should have cell phones with full internet. As a matter of fact, if I had to raise another child, I would have a huge screen TV where everything they're doing for their homework and things, everybody passing by can see. And they definitely would not have a cell phone that they can take into their room. It's not going to happen. Not with what I know. I went on Google and I searched for Steve Jobs and all these other people that are like tech, that own tech companies. Do you know none of their children have Facebook pages or cell phones and all that stuff? All the stuff they create for the poisons they create for you and I, their children don't have access to it. Google it. I think it was I forget who it was. One of those big shot guys that said they don't allow their children to have cell phones. Not one, more than one. Go and Google it. But yet we're buying new cell phones. I mean, you can't even pay your rent. You're buying cell phones for kids. What kind of madness is that? People are in my inbox begging for money to pay their children's tuition. And, not mocking anybody, but your child has an Android phone with data on it. Why? What do they need it for? What do they need it for? It doesn't make sense. I understand about security and stuff, but your child should not be by themselves anyways. The reason why a lot of us give our children cell phone is because everybody else's child has a cell phone. We have to do better. And we have to make the Ministry of Education accountable for this kind of no man's land where people just only care about money for tuition. They have to create better schools that our children can attend. And we ourselves have to go to the schools. We have to engage better. We have to go to the schools. We have to participate. We should travel with them if we can afford to. And we should be there for our children. We need to spend more time with them instead of hiring 3-4 nannies for one child just because you have money. I have a friend that has 3 nannies. She has 2 kids. She has 3 nannies. Why? Doesn't make sense. Why have children if you don't have time for them? Don't. Like I said earlier, having children is not a by force. It's not a must. You don't have to have children. If you don't have your own children, if you decide you don't want, my wife is child-free. She met me and I have 4. Together, we're raising them all together. My father had 31 kids. I'm sure 31 kids, he could split amongst, if he gave each family 2. So you don't need to have your own children. Go to just don't do it if you don't have time, because this is not a part-time thing. This is a full-time job. And in 2022, if you're not hands-on, try. Like this woman said, oh, I didn't know. Okay. But you saw your child in skimpy outfits. Who bought those clothing? You did. So you enabled her to become who she is. And yet people go to church every Sunday and be screaming. But look at what people are even wearing to this church. Their skirts are so short, you can see their ovaries. And then they wonder why the children turn out the way they do. And I'm not saying there's some kids that are just bad. I know that for a fact. Bad. And there's some kids that like to push the envelope. Like I told you, I went to boarding school and I used to jump the fence. That was the coolest thing ever in my day. Because we'll jump the fence and go and buy suya and puff puff and some amala. And I thought oh, Lord have mercy. In 2022, I'll be considered a prude. But anyways, to round up the show today, I'm asking all parents to please be more attentive. Please participate more in whatever your children are doing. Monitor their cell phones, monitor the internet, limit the internet. Do not give cell phones to kids that are too young. There's too much out there for them to learn. Way too much. There's too much dangers out there for these children on the internet. Monitor their social media presence, and comport yourself in a way that's respectable as well, so your children can learn from you. And it takes a village to raise a child, though. So if you see a child doing something wrong, please speak up. And in the name of God, please speak up. Do me a favor and share the video if you like the content and you like what I've been talking to you about this morning. Share the video, because just us listening to this is not how the world's going to change. The world's going to change when more of us start to change our mindset. I am huge on mindset. So every Thursday on Clubhouse, if you look for me, Moji Solo Wilson, I do a room called Authentic Transformations, where we go through books, different books that helps to change our mind and help us to become our authentic selves, so we can be the best version of ourselves. My name is Moji Wilson. I am grateful that you came in to join me today. I will see you next Wednesday. And if you know anybody whose children are being a little bit on the wayward and frisky side, I am asking you in the name of God, talk to these parents, let them know if they abuse you, it's okay. Your conscience is clear. The only thing you owe anybody is transparency and truth. But charity begins at home. Oh. Don't go and be telling people your child is scoring, and your own is 10 times worse. Remember that we all are part of the reason why the world is the way it is today. We have to become a lot more loving, a lot more present. That's one thing I just learned in the past 2 years. I used to be a cell phone junkie. Facebook, oh my God, this one, nobody is more important than my family to me these days. That's why I spend less time on social media. And when I do come on or when I post, it's for a purpose. Sometimes I come and I laugh and I joke and I go away. But I am so much more focused on helping to leave a better world behind than I met it. I hope you guys will do the same. Pay attention to your family and loved ones and help your friends, your cousins, I don't know, Mama Shukra down the block. It's not about money. Time is the most expensive thing that we have to give each other. And that on its own, because no parent sees everything. You know, I honestly believe that, especially biological mothers, your child could be Jeffrey Drummer eating a person and you're still thinking, oh my God, she's so cute. You know, all you see is the baby you brought from the hospital. That's why you need more than one person around your children. Be very careful who you bring around your children as well. There's a lot to look out there. There's pedophiles, there's the internet grooming, there's the church grooming, there's the babysitter or nanny grooming, where they are harassing and doing the jiggy with your children. This 10-year-old learned all this stuff from somewhere, and now she's a pro, in my opinion. She needs psychological evaluation. She has to go through therapy. And I feel so bad because anytime somebody Googles her name for the rest of her life, this stuff is going to come up. So be careful what you post out there. Be careful what your children post out there. Make sure you know what your children are doing on social media. And more importantly, you too navigate the internet responsibly. Be a good example for the younger generation. Because if you're trolling people and cursing at them and you're half naked on social media, you can't tell your child not to be naked on social media. Children learn a lot from what they see. And yes, there's some children that are just innately bad. It happens. It's a luck of the draw when you decide to have a child. Last but not the least, stop having babies like rabbits. Have just enough children that you know you can emotionally support, financially support, and mentally and physically support. I think that's the way forward. Be more attentive, be in the moment, and you see the world change around you. But you have to be part of it. I have to be part of the change I want to see. My name is Moji Wilson. I thank you all for being here today. It's been a great conversation. Please share the video for me. Let's start changing the world one person at a time. My wife always says, you cannot boil the ocean, but you can boil the ocean one cup at a time. I'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Namaste. Cheers.